There are so many exciting engines at National Railway Museum in York. Every engine has its story. The largest engine, though, is the KF Class No. 7, which is located near the middle of the Great Hall. This large black engine has fascinated hundreds of thousands of tourists, and perhaps particularly so because it never ran on British railways, but was actually put to work in China. The engine's story is even more impressive than its physical size, as it involves the friendship of two families, the history of two nations' railway industries, and the rise of modern China as the old empire fell away. In the late 19th century, the old Qing Empire was under the threat of Western powers, and many Chinese people were fighting for the fate of their country. Dr. Sun Yat-sen was at the forefront of the struggle. He was exiled after the failure of the First Revolution. Dr. Sun found a degree of sanctuary in London, but he was still seeking to bring an end to the imperial rule and to mold China into a republic. In 1896, Dr. Sun was kidnapped by the Qing Secret Service and detained in Chinese jurisdiction in London. The Qing government planned to smuggle Dr. Sun back to China, where he would receive his sentence and would probably have been executed. Sir James Cantley, father of the pioneering engineer Kenneth Cantley, was the former teacher of Dr. Sun Yat-sen. They became lifelong close friends, and James even named Sun as Kenneth's godfather.
When he was detained at the Chinese legation, Sir James was instrumental in helping him to get released. But I think one of the details in this story that most people do not know is that Kenneth Cantley's mother, Lady Cantley, was also quite influential in this, because she went to Sun Yat-sen's home, according to Kenneth Cantley, and destroyed a list of names of other revolutionaries. That way he was able to possibly save their lives.
For 12 days, Sir James rallied every resource he could to free Dr. Sun. He lobbied the Foreign Office, newspapers such as the Globe and the Times, and finally the British Prime Minister, who all insisted upon Sun's release. After immense pressure, Sun was freed finally as a hero, thanks to the efforts of James. On the 10th of October 1911, the Wuchang Revolution overthrew the last Chinese imperial dynasty. Dr. Sun Yat-sen was elected as the first president of the new Republic of China, and he will be forever remembered as the forerunner of the revolution. In turn, Sun's legacy certainly influenced the creation of the KF class engine. Dr. Sun began plans for a Chinese railway system over 100 years ago. After he resigned from the role of provisional president, he became the supervisor of China Railway and proposed a plan to build 160,000 kilometers of railways within 10 years. The planning of 5 major railway systems was based on the country's geographical environment and topographical conditions. Indeed, this first plan could be described as a blueprint for the layout of the current railway system in China. When the Guangdong to Hankou Railway was completed, the Chinese authorities needed a locomotive that was capable of running on it. The line had steep gradients, sharp curves, and low-capacity bridges. The new engine would have to have more attractive effort but retain a low axle load, and it had to have the ability to consume low-quality coal and water, as well as contending with extreme weather.
Well, Kenneth Cantley was a locomotive designer who obviously had studied what the current thinking was. So, for example, you can't see it on this because it's inside, but it's using some Chapelon developments. Chapelon was a French engineer. There's one or two other things in there that are unusual, and Cantley was basically working around the issue he had to deal with, which was quite weak bridges, different forms of coal, and so on. And this really was the culmination of understanding all that other research and all those other machines that were out there being built. Cantley himself had been trained at Crewe, so he was somebody who'd been trained in one of the best engineering workshops in the world.
Sir James' son, Kenneth, had been appointed an advisor to the Chinese railway team led by Yin Xiangchai. He wanted to incorporate American design into the new locomotive, and he knew that the new engine was going to be physically large. He designed a mechanical stoker, bar frames, and a new wheel arrangement never before built in the UK. 5 different railway works competed for the new tender, and eventually the Vulcan Foundry was awarded the contract. The works at Newton Le Willows produced 24 new KF-class engines, and these were shipped to China.
One of the most profound things about his career was his connection to the Sun family and the connection of both the Cantley and Sun families. And we can say that his experiences in China were really profound, and they were very career-changing for him. He was there only for 7 years in the 1930s with his family, but during the later periods in his career, he always draws from his experiences in China. And I think he mentioned this in various letters in the Cantley archive, how important China was for him and how he still has very warm feelings towards China and the people and the friends he had there.
In 1981, the Ministry of Railway in China decided to offer KF No. 7 to the UK government as a goodwill gift from the people of China. The National Railway Museum accepted the gift with open arms and restored it to its prime for exhibition in 1983. Another engine, KF No. 6, is exhibited in the China Railway Museum in Beijing. These 2 remaining KF-class engines can bear witness to the friendship between 2 families of Sun and Cantley, and also chronicle the end of 2,000 years of Chinese empire and the rise of New China.